All right, shalom, 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 brothers and sisters. This is your brother Kazakia, and it's been a while since I actually did a video. And so I want to just kind of to say, first of all, Shabbat Shalom to those of you who may be viewing this on the Shabbat. This is kind of at the midpoint, more on the downside of the midpoint of the Shabbat in the year of 2019. And we just introduced or been ushered into the new year. And we are anticipating the Pesach, which is the first feast of the calendar year 2019. And what I wanted to do was I had been doing a lot of research in a lot of different areas of things, personally as well as spiritually. So I kind of really haven't had a whole lot of time to do videos, but I wanted to do a little something here. For those of you that are new to this walk, shalom to you. Welcome to the family. Those of you that are still undecided, just hang in there for a little while and things will open up before your eyes, and prayerfully you'll be able to look back at these days and see your beginnings and to see where you are spiritually in the future. But anyway, I wanted to just kind of give a little words of I won't say disappointment, but expectancy. And the expectancy that I'm talking about, I'm out here in the waterfront and sitting here. I'm actually not facing the water because the sun is coming this way, so west is facing that direction. So I'm utilizing the sunlight for my screen. My Isha is back there in the car, and so she's listening. But I wanted to give my words on this new scripture called the Cephar, the Cephar scriptures, or it's called the Cephar, which is another translation of the scriptures. What I want to do is I'm going to read a little bit out of the Book of Jubilees, but before I do that, let me just kind of give you my take on what I've come to experience. And as I have acquired this, which was $95 I paid for this hard copy, and but I always like to see what the Most High is doing for other people in terms of writing and so forth. So I did see a brother who has a large channel here on YouTube. Not going to name him by name because I don't want anyone to feel like that he's being targeted or whatever, but you know him and his Isha. But he did a video not too long ago about what Bible he uses. So when you talk about what's really key is that you have to understand or understand, pardon me, that whenever a person does a translation, they always are open to doing commentaries or doing their own take, I should say, as far as to how they read, some like to say, interpret the scriptures, right? So I came across this, the Cephar, or Cephar, if you want, if you prefer. My thoughts is a good moray that I've been good friends with for a very long time, and we have remained friends even though we haven't seen each other in about 5 years, but we consistently talk on the phone from time to time. And he, just to give credit to him, he had this method of how you can tell if it is a good translation or not, right? So I basically voided that rule. I didn't look because there was actually a copy of this. But once I got it, I went back to my rule to go to this passage to see how it was translated, which will let me know whether or not this particular version or version is an actual good version or is a complete version. So anyway, what passage am I talking about? Okay, I'm talking about Genesis chapter 10. Genesis chapter 10. So let's just do this right quick. It's called, in this particular version, it's called Bereshit, which we know, which means the beginning. Okay. Now I want to go to Genesis chapter 10. I'm going to read, and as an Israelite, knowing that we are the Israelites, we are the descendants of those people who were cast out of our land, right? We want to see, because all prophecies that are told in the scriptures helps us to understand the Father's time period in prophecy, right? So if we look at Genesis chapter 10, right, it says, we're going to read verse 5. Genesis chapter 10, verse 5. And it reads, it says, the sons of verse 4. Let's look at verse 4. Let's go back. No, I'm just going to read that one verse, and then you know what the rest of it says, okay? But 10 and 5 says, by these were the isles of the other nations divided in their lands, everyone after his tongue and after their families in their nations. So what are you saying, brother? I'm saying in the authorized King James Version, they put Gentiles there for a reason, right? In this particular version, Gentiles was taken out. Okay. Now I know what you're thinking. Well, brother, isn't the Hebrew word goyim? And that's absolutely right. Well, can't goyim be translated nations? Yes, it sure can be. As a matter of fact, it should be, right? However, okay, Gentile is an English word, okay? And if you check in the authorized King James Version, everywhere you see the word Gentile, who is it making reference to? I'll give you a clue. The people who are in charge of the world system right now, which is the sons of Japheth, right? So what I'm trying to say to you is, if you lose that, right? If you lose that word Gentile and coalesce that word with nations, then you lose the prophetic understanding of the scripture, because the people who translated it want you to know who the people that is talking about that is going to be ruling the nations when the Messiah returns. And who are those people? Not the other nations, the sons of Japheth, because other nations could make reference to the Hamitic nations, right? It could make reference to some of the other Shemitic nations that are not actually Hebrews or Israelites. There are other nations too, right? So when we look at Genesis 10 and 5, right? Now, if you go back, right, it says in abbreviation, I'm not going to do the whole thing, but an abbreviation says the sons of Japheth are Gomer, Magog, Madai, Yavon, Tubal, Meshach, and Tyrus, right? He has different names in there. I'm not going to get you lost in that. And the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz, Riphath, Togarmah, and the sons of Yavon, Elisha, Tarsus, Kittim, and Dodanim, or Dodanim. By these were the isles of the other nations divided. So that, I don't know what his intent is. I'm not going to demonize the person who translated this, but I will say from a Hebrew's perspective, put that word Gentile back in there, because it really signifies that we're talking about a specific son of Noah when you see that word Gentile in the text that was translated by the King James translators, letting you know that they're talking about the sons of Japheth. These are the lands where his sons settled, right? And if you go further, if you go into the biblical text throughout, where we see Gentiles, we talk about the Most High son Yahshua saying that Jerusalem will be trodden down by the Gentiles, right? Until the times of the Gentiles is fulfilled. So the Gentiles can't be other nations. It has to be a specific son of Noah, who is Japheth, who is the father or the progenitor of the European nations of people. It's just that simple. You can't discount that, right? Shaul himself also said he was an apostle not to the other nations. He said he was an apostle to the Gentiles, right? So the Gentiles are actually a people that word Gentile is an English word that when the translators put that in place of nations, they wanted it to be completely clear that they are talking about the sons of Japheth, or the European nations, right? Okay. Shaul said in Romans, he said that the Most High would provoke Israel to jealousy with another people. Who are the people that he's talking about? The sons of Japheth, right? The Most High said because of the blindness of Israel, that the riches have gone to the Gentiles. Who are those Gentiles that they put in Romans? The Greeks, the Romans, right? The Gauls, right? Which are the sons of Gomer, Galatians, Gauls, right? These are the people that are actually ruling economically, financially, politically, the world right now is being ran by the sons of Japheth. So you can't throw that out, because that really shows us in prophecy, what time we're in. We are in the times of not the other nations, the times of the Gentiles, the sons of Japheth, right? Because see, we was taught in Christendom that a Gentile is a non-Jew. Okay. That's not what they use that terminology for. Right? The translators didn't put that in there to say a Gentile was a Gentile in this particular case was to distinguish the difference between those who were outsiders and strangers that came into the lands of Jerusalem to dominate the land and to dominate the government. When you go to the book of Daniel or Daniel, he talks about how that the fourth beast, which was more diverse than the other beasts, right, would change laws and times, right? Who was the one that did that? The sons of Japheth, the Gentile nations, right? This was not something that was done by other nations. This was done by a specific son of Noah called the Gentiles, right? Now I know that you're mad as hell right now hearing that. So, hey, be mad all you want to, but just understand we can't take and put our own agenda to put a spin on things to confuse the masses about where we are in the prophetic times, right? We are in the times of the Gentiles. Make no mistakes about that, right? Who has the riches? The Gentiles, right? The sons of Japheth. It's just that simple, right? So I wanted to share that, and prayerfully, no offense to the person that wrote this, and prayerfully you won't report this to YouTube and say, hey, this brother tried to demonize. I never mentioned the brother's name. I just mentioned the reference book that he used. But I mean, I have love for the brother. I have nothing against the brother. I mean, I'm a teacher. I'm an Israelite, and I got to teach the book according to protocol. And in the book, it says Gentiles. So let's just keep it right where it's supposed to be, right? Now, other part I want to say with regards to the book, I recommend this book over some of the other references because of the simple fact that they have put in proper perspective the seventh day of worship, not the first day. Okay, so any place where in the King James Version where they had the first day of the week in this particular version, he put in there the Shabbat, or if you like, Sabbath, right? So I recommend you that if you have it in your power, you have the money, you know, and you can afford it, go ahead and you know, support the brother's ministry. But just know from a Hebrew perspective, that word Gentile needs to be put back in its proper perspective, because it helps to make the prophecies make sense, right? So that's all I'm saying. I'm not demonizing the brother. I'm not demonizing the brother's book. I'm not discouraging people from purchasing the book because he has a software application that you can get with that. I bought the software application and the book, right? I bought, matter of fact, two, one for me and one for my Isha, right? So I'm not demonizing the book, but I'm just giving you my take on that. Now, having said that, like I said, I do have the book. I paid my $95 for the book. I don't know if it was taxes. I think it was tax-free. I think it was. But I do have it. Here it is right here. Okay. All right. So to the brother that produced this, praise the Most High for what you did share. Now, I don't know your heart. I'm not saying that you intentionally did it. I don't know. But all I'm saying is that that word Gentile needs to be put back where it belongs. Everywhere the Gentiles is, everywhere in here, we're talking about Gentiles, right? It needs to be put right back where it is so we can understand that you can be a covenant of Abraham. You could be in the covenant of Abraham because it was prophesied to Abraham that I make you the father of many nations, which includes Japheth, it includes Ham and other Shemites. So that we're not saying that this salvation is only for the true Hebrew Israelites, because that's not what the book teaches. That's not what the Most High prophesied or proclaimed to our father Abraham, right? It is something that anyone that wants to come under the nation has to govern themselves by the laws and the protocols of Israel, right? Which we're going to read just a little. I want to show you a little something.